Hey everybody, thanks for checking out my video. Today's subject is going to be my Glock 17, what I've done to it, and pretty much how much I've put into it. So let's go ahead and start it. First of all, I'm going to safety check this gun. There's no magazine, and there's nothing in the chamber, so it's safe. Point it in a safe direction. There you go. Gun's unloaded. So let's talk about it. So this is not my first gun. This is actually my second gun. The first gun I had was a Ruger P95, and I kind of bought that as an impulse buy. I went to the gun store. I knew I wanted to get a gun. I didn't do really that much research. My father used to work for Ruger up in Prescott assembling guns, and I knew Ruger's a good product, and I saw it there. It was a decent price, and I didn't have a lot of money to spend, so I just bought it. Now, it was a good gun, and it was fine, but it was a little bit thick, and then I started watching videos on YouTube about different guns, and after watching quite a few nothing fancy videos, I bought the Glock 17. Now, in all my videos where I talk about guns that I've bought, I'm not that big of an expert. Shoot, I'm not an expert at all. I grew up around guns. As I said, my dad worked for Ruger, so there was guns in the house. And just recently, about 2 years ago, after my father passed away, he was going to leave me one of his guns, but his wife at the time, well, her sons decided that they wanted to help her out financially more than they wanted to give me something my father wanted to give me. Now, I told him while he was still around that if you want me to get anything, I think you need to write down a will. And of course, he didn't want to do that, and a lot of people don't like making up wills. But I think it's something that everybody should do, no matter how old you are. If you have kids, you should have a will. Anyway, getting off of that subject, I didn't get his gun, so I decided, I'm interested in guns, and I'd like to get back into that. I haven't shot a gun in years, so that's why I bought the P95. Now, as I said, after doing a lot of research on YouTube, I watched a lot of nothing fancy videos, and I decided I wanted to get a Glock 17. And over 60% of all gun sales are Glocks, so that impressed me quite a bit. Now, if I had done even more research, I probably would have got a 40 caliber Glock, but I didn't, and so I traded in the P95 for this Glock 17 Gen 4. So moving forward, I'm going to tell you, any of my videos that are gun related, I most likely got those ideas from other YouTubers' channels. As I've said, I only got back into this about 2 years ago, so I did a lot of research on YouTube. And anytime that I, was inspired by another YouTube channel, I'm going to let you know. Let's go ahead and take a closer look to what I've done to this Glock 17 Gen 4. So first, let's talk about how much the gun actually cost me. This cost me about $600 out the door. That's after taxes, so it was like $550 before taxes. And unfortunately, it was a California legal buy. The gun store didn't have any non-California legal Glock 17s, which means they come with 3 10-round magazines. Now, anybody who knows Glocks knows that the 10-round magazines are a joke. I mean, they work, but they're definitely for California. This is a standard Glock 17 magazine, holds 17 rounds. And this is a standard Glock 18 magazine. Now, the Glock 18 is a fully automatic pistol, and of course is illegal because of that. Well, you can probably get a permit or something, but I'm not an expert on that. But this is the magazine for it. It is a 33 round magazine, and if you have one in the chamber, that's a total of 34 rounds of 9mm. Pretty cool. Okay, so starting out with what I've put on this, right here is True Glow night sights. These are the TFOs. They have the fiber optic rods inserted. They glow green, as you can see in the picture. They are very bright, and they last about 12 years. These cost me $100. Now next, you might notice that this trigger looks a little different. This is not a standard Glock trigger. It does have the middle button safe action trigger. This is a Fulcrum trigger. It's adjustable. You can make the pre-travel a lot shorter, and the reset a little bit less. You got to be careful when adjusting it because it can mess up. I like this trigger a lot. It's very light. I would say probably around 3 pounds, maybe a little bit less. I don't have a trigger scale, so I haven't weighed that. It did also come with the new safety plunger, which is on the inside, which is it's a smoother safety plunger, and a whole bunch of springs to lessen the weight of the trigger, because of course Glocks come with a 5.5 pound trigger pull. Usually it's really about 6 pounds, and this one is much lighter. In fact, watch how far I have to push. That's it. And to reset, that's it. So I really like that trigger. That trigger cost me about $180. Also on this Glock 17, I'm sporting a Viridian X5l Laser Light combo. Here's the box that it comes with. Pretty nice box. Came with a battery, and it's made out of pure aluminum as far as I'm aware. And of course you get your operating manual. This is a really nice light. I do have one complaint about the light itself. Of course the light goes in there. The one complaint I have is the push buttons on the sides. When you push the buttons, the light comes on. When you push the button again, light goes off. But in order to cycle through all the modes, you have to push both buttons at the same time. And that can, in a bad situation, that could be annoying. But what I do, this is my bedside gun, so what I do is I just put it on the strobe laser and then turn it off, and of course it stays on that setting, so if in the middle of the night something happened, it would be right on the laser light combo. This laser light combo cost me $339. After tax, probably like $350. Now you see these pins right here, these are the actual pins that came with the gun. I just went ahead and used some metal polish, took off the bluing, and made them a little bit more silver. I liked the way they looked. Next is the takedown tab. This is a takedown tab from Glockmeister. A lot of people recommended the Glockmeister takedown tab, including Pete from the Armory channel. And of course they have to order theirs. I can just go down the street. It's about maybe a mile away from my house is their actual store. So anytime I'm looking at Glockmeister stuff, I make sure that I can get it in their store. Now here on the other side is something else I did. Same thing with the pins. I went ahead and took the extractor, sanded it down with some fine sandpaper to get the bluing off, and then polished it so that it's a little bit more of a chrome finish. Every once in a while I have to touch that up with some polish, but it's not too bad. So the last thing I put on this that we're going to talk about is the grip plug. I bought this at Glockmeister as well. It cost me about $7. And it just keeps the dust and dirt out of there. I was noticing that before I got that, it was getting really dirty, and it's kind of a pain to clean. So that was a nice little extra. Now I'm not counting the extra magazines that I purchased for it or anything like that, but altogether this is a pretty expensive pistol. It's over about, I think it's getting close to $1,300 with taxes and things like that. But I'm not done with this. In fact, you're going to see more videos about this pistol later on, because this is going to be my zombie pistol. It's also going to be the gun that's next to my bedside. This is my home protection firearm. I do like it that I can have either 18 rounds or 34 rounds. And sometimes I go ahead and I put that 34 round magazine in there, put it next to my bed. Of course it's all locked up and safe. But it's nice to know that, you know, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're a little bit groggy, that you have the advantage with the laser light and you have the advantage with an extended magazine. Alright, so what improvements do I want to make on this pistol? Well, I want to get a suppressor, which means I have to get a new barrel that is threaded. Yes, suppressors are legal as long as you go through the proper paperwork. The suppressor is going to cost me about $1,000, but it's going to be really nice and it's going to quiet this thing up. So, you know, and why would you want to quiet up a pistol? Well, especially since this is my home defense pistol. If you've ever been around a firearm without hearing protection, you realize you don't want to be around a firearm without hearing protection. And in the middle of the night, if something is trying to break into my house and kill me and my family, I don't want to have to worry about my eardrums being ringing and I can't hear anything for quite a while, because inside a house that echoes against the walls would be something else, and it would definitely make it hard to hear after the first shot. So I don't want that. Plus, you know, if you're zombie hunting, you don't want the other zombies to hear what's going on, because you know they'd be attracted to that noise. Now, that's kind of practical. I mean, I can justify getting a suppressor. However, because I want it to also be my zombie gun, I want it to look a little bit, you know, unique. So I'm planning on either getting a new slide from Lone Wolf, or just getting this one refinished and then hiring an artist or like a tattoo artist to do some artwork and then get it engraved with some sort of zombie killing motif. So after all that, I would imagine I've got another close to $1,500 that I want to put into this gun, maybe even more than that. So I'm looking forward to, you know, getting some more things for this one. I also got some other projects going on, so I don't know exactly when I'll do it, but any upgrades I do to this gun, I'll definitely let you guys know. So next I want to talk about what kind of ammunition I use. This is the home defense ammunition I use, Federal HST. This is very nice. I did a lot of research on different types of ammunition, and the main person who turned me on to this is TN Outdoors 9. He has a lot of great videos on different types of ammunition, and he tests them to FBI standards. This right here is a Federal HST after it's been shot. This was shot into some jugs of water, and that's how it expanded. So that's pretty nasty. Now, full expansion on this measures in at about 0.724 or 723. So that's almost 3/4 of an inch in expansion, and it definitely looks gnarly. So yeah, this is what I use for home protection, but just in case of zombies, well, you have to have some Zombie Max, Hornady Zombie Max or Z Max, just in case. Of course, this is the exact same thing as the Critical Defense. Anybody that knows about guns, and they pretty much know that it's the exact same kind as the Hornady Critical Defense. It's just got a green polymer tip instead of a red one. This one has a red polymer tip. Now, I also did shoot a Critical Defense out of this gun into some jugs of water as well, and you can see it really peeled back nicely. This one, at its widest point, let's see, is 560, so a little bit over a half an inch. So the Federal HSTs definitely expand more. Here's the little red rubber tip that is in it, and that just helps it to expand without plugging up with like heavy clothing or anything like that. So that's what I feed it. Now, when I'm just practicing, I'm out at the range, I like to feed it my own reloads. This is one that I have reloaded myself in my Dillon press. It's a 147 grain bullet. The extra weight of the bullet and the charge that I have in it makes it very soft for recoil, and I'm actually looking into getting into IDPA, which is International Defensive Pistol Association, I believe, and that's just kind of like having fun out at the range, practicing at different scenarios. If you don't know what IDPA is and you're into guns, definitely look it up. I believe it's a lot of fun. Now, when I first got this gun, I had a lot of problems with it. Every other magazine, it seemed like I would get a failure to eject, or I'd get a stovepipe, what they like to call, when the brass fails to eject all the way out of the gun after you fire it. And it was about every other magazine that was happening. And after doing some more research on YouTube, I realized that that was a problem with some of the Gen 4 Glocks. Now, it's not all the Gen 4 Glocks, it's mostly just the 9mm as far as I'm aware. and that's because they went from a single spring to a dual recoil spring. And apparently, well, you don't really need a dual recoil spring in a 9mm. So I contacted Glock, I told them about the problem. It's a very known problem with the Gen 4 9mm, and they sent me a new recoil spring within a few days, and it works perfect. I've got over 1,000 rounds through this firearm, and after the new spring I haven't had one malfunction, so that's good. So thanks for joining me on this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I am looking to make some other videos about some of the other firearms I have, and it's good to be back. Thanks for all my subscribers that are sticking around. Talk to you later.